Hello everybody, I'm Achilles. Unfortunately, I cannot share my video. I don't know why. But let me walk you through a bit on the Say Innovation Lab. I teach at the university more than 10 years already, but I consider myself primarily a business person. I work in sales and leadership roles. I have worked in various multinationals and small companies as well. So let me walk you through in a few minutes, which is almost impossible. You can imagine for teachers and academics to present something in a few minutes. That's a big challenge, but let us take this challenge with Peter and walk you through our Say Innovation Lab. Can you see my slides? Hopefully, yes. Yeah. So the Innovation Lab is an incubator where you can turn your ideas into reality. Now you have heard a lot about how you can get access to money. Once you have a good idea, you still need to work on it. So the proper place where you can apply this is at our incubation. So this is the incubator of Central European University. And I'm very much sure that you have all heard about the university in the news. So having a global footprint, thanks to the university with 3 campuses, so the startups, the companies who are joining us will have immediate access to the global level. So they direct access not only to Vienna, but also to the US. Some of our teams have already leveraged in the past. So this is a great opportunity to immediately show up not only in Hungary, but in Western Europe, but also in the US once companies are joining. How we can do that, how we can be successful, is having an ecosystem in place. So we combine not only the entrepreneurship and internal things of the incubator, but we have access directly to the academic background, but also combine this with the business knowledge which our mentors and the partners from the field bringing on board. So the academic view can have a selective access to knowledge, which is very important for the young teams. Always to understand not only what they should do, but also how and what is the impact and what is the knowledge behind of this. So during the last few years, we have seen companies growing from zero, from an idea to 100 people organizations. And it was always good to see that what is the academic knowledge behind and how this was influenced. And here is the results. We have already 35 teams after a very rigid selection criteria, and we already have alumni companies who have graduated, let's say, from the Innovation Lab, and they are now successful companies across the globe even. So some of them, they have already become international. So during the past years, we have raised, if you want some figures, more than 60 million euros in funds. But what I'm personally even more proud of is that we already have created with the teams more than 135 jobs, which is in these very difficult circumstances nowadays, I think it's a very great success. So the teams which we have are very diverse. Here are some examples. You might have already worked with them or even used their services and products, but the teams are very diverse. We have the teams working in fintech, like Salarify or Broker Chooser, but we also had from food industry, health, energy, and even education. So we have various teams with very diverse background and working in very different fields. These teams are putting also high ambitions, so they have their own plans. Everybody should have a plan, and these are the 4 major achievement or benchmarks that we put together with the teams in front of us, which I think are very ambitious, but not possible to be achieved. So each year we have an onboarding program. So we are very selective. We try to focus on teams which will have impact in the past, in the future, and together we can succeed. So we select 12 to 14 teams every year. This number was in the last years very successful, and they have to go through an onboarding criteria and program which they have to pass. Why it's good to combine the academic with the business is that they have access to various areas. So this is a rough list of what kind of support they can get by being members of the incubation. So on top of getting a mentor, they can access to academics knowledge, but also from skill mentoring from the field. So we have very, very strong business relationships and partnerships. So they can access education through the business programs which we are running in the Department of Economics and Business. So like finance, like management, like business analytics, or the program which I lead, the technology management and innovation. So our students can selectively access the knowledge there and choose, I wouldn't say cherry pick, but choose the ones, the topics which are related to their maturity or current state of evolution. We provide data analytics. They have tracking their evolution and how they are performing. Apart of this, we have the possibility to provide working environment and office space where they can work together in teams, but also having access to the rest of the teams, which is a big part of their network. And this is not only the only network they can access various other organizations and partners with whom we are cooperating on a daily basis. What has great success during the last years that we combine the internships, the capstone projects of the 3 programs which I mentioned before, and many of our students are choosing or selecting projects from the Innovation Lab and cooperate with the teams there. Either they develop their own or they participate in existing projects, and this is a great success. And we have seen many of students becoming permanent employees or members of the startups in the incubation. Apart of this, we provide exposure for the teams, not only locally but international, on international level by various events. And last but not least, they have deep access to academic knowledge, not only accessing the library, which is a state-of-the-art, I would say, in Hungary, but also we have seen companies participating in case studies or research projects together with members of the other departments of the university. So this, having said that, let me share my view why I really like to work with the students, with the teams, in the incubation, is that I primarily like to challenge their ideas and the way how they turn their ideas into reality by generating value for the clients through selling services and products. And this is always a great challenge, how to position this and how to challenge the teams to provide and show this value for the clients. Peter, let me hand back to you. You wanted to share some thoughts about this slide.
Thank you. Please let me just add how much the startups themselves contribute to the university, because we are recycling everything that we learn from them as well. And in fact, we use them as live case studies as all of our innovation and entrepreneurship related courses in a bid to really raise the next generation of startups. And as Tőkeportál will attest, we actually offer students for consulting projects to Tőkeportál and various other partners as well on a regular basis, really trying to spread the knowledge that the students accumulate. And I was actually a little bit disappointed that Elamir from Impact Ventures couldn't join us, because one of our social impact startups, the Taylor Network, just received a big A-round investment from them. So that would have been interesting to discuss. So yes, this really ends up being a very cohesive ecosystem where the incubator and its startups are an integral members of the university. And I think this is exactly why they can grow and develop so fast at CEU compared to maybe smaller incubators who do not have the same academic infrastructure behind them. Finally, let me just say that originally when we started the iLAB, it was designed to incubate the startups of CEU students and alumni. But now, of course, we now also offer boot camps that allow access. And in fact, if we come to social impact, we recently partnered up with the EU versus virus hackathon, which had 20,000 participants from all across Europe. The director of the incubator, Andrea, was the challenge head of the digital finance domain. And we also participated in the remote working and education challenge. This has resulted in basically an online cohort that will now come into the iLAB, 13, 14 teams, primarily focusing on social impact. So hopefully this will be a model that we will be able to continue with going forward, where we can basically have virtual teams who are not necessarily even in the same city. So these could be pan-European teams doing innovation. We have an open door policy, so if you'd ever like to come and see us, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Peter Achilles, for your presentation. It's quite fascinating. It's a big enterprise to have to bring all those parts together, mentor, coach, promote, network, all the 7 or 8 steps. I try counting them, I lost track, but it's a lot of things that you're trying to do in one place. So great stuff. Quick question, maybe you've answered that already. I mean, a lot of startups, usually in some based in Europe, look at the US as the big avenue or the El Dorado in such a way. So your positioning helped a lot in that, at least theoretically. So I was wondering from a networking perspective, and you probably mentioned that as well, I missed it, but do you have a US chapter where you actually present, introduce to investors or mentors or resources there as such?
Well, we will primarily use our alumni network. We have alumni chapters in 72 countries, including 3 in the US. So if one of our startups wants to access the US market, then we can just hook them up with the California chapter or the New York chapter, and the alumni on location will actually do their best to help. Good example was when we went to San Francisco 2 years ago, and one of our alumni actually got us into the Wells Fargo incubator. So this actually works very seamlessly. This is a great network to be a part of. Having said that, I mean, of course, we're working startups. So, I mean, if you do want to access the US market, then you will actually have to move to the US. And they will normally expressly ask you to reincorporate in the US. And that's just what's happening to Plantcraft, one of our startups that Impact Vectors invested in. They were basically trying to access the US market, so they had no option but to relocate. And then we just try to make it as seamless as possible for them.